All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the main room of the conference. I'm Nicole, the housing organizer at the New York City Comptroller's office, and we're at the close of what we hope was a really meaningful and informative event for all of you. We're really incredibly grateful that you showed up today and for your attention on an issue that we believe that you all have a very strong role in addressing. In this final section, we're going to talk about some of our next steps, our call to action, and make sure you're all aware of the different housing resources across the city. And we'll also want to hear your takeaways from the conference too. It's been really incredible to hear all of your perspectives and questions throughout the day, but we also want to take a moment to acknowledge that we talked about a lot of heavy stuff. And I think we all need a moment to really let that sink in too, especially because many of our conversations today touched on how the housing crisis impacts some of our most vulnerable populations and how the pandemic has deepened already entrenched inequalities. For me personally, our city's struggle to safely and effectively house migrants has always hit deeply and personally. We always seem so unprepared every time there's a new wave of people coming to the city looking for safe haven. When my parents immigrated to this country in 1989 from Ukraine, or what was then the former Soviet Union shortly before its collapse, it was Jewish humanitarian organizations that helped them find a home in New York City. It was local community institutions that helped them navigate becoming new New Yorkers when they didn't know the language and they didn't know the first thing about food stamps or Section 8 programs. So, as we all know now, in addition to the thousands of Latin American asylum seekers, new waves of Ukrainian refugees have been coming to New York City. And once again, faith-based institutions have stepped up. When the city hasn't had the capacity to quickly respond, mosques opened their doors. Churches, other faith-based institutions provided that immediate relief. So we have to build that capacity as a city, but faith communities will always remain a key part of that process too. Faith communities are really at the forefront constantly of responding to crises. But I won't harp anymore on just how bad the housing crisis is now, because I think you all heard and know it and feel it and see it. Homelessness is on the rise, rents are skyrocketing, evictions are growing at unsustainable levels. But I really want to focus on what we can do next together, even if we come from different faith backgrounds. If we're all united around the principles of making New York City a more just and equitable place, we can have a really incredible coalition of advocates together. One of the goals of this conference is really to bring faith leaders into the movement for housing justice. So instead of just seeing housing as a commodity to be bought and sold, how do we together as a collective movement build a world in which housing is a human right? Tenant organizers, housing advocates, they need your help. So those of you who joined our tenants' rights panel heard me talk about this, but I wanted to take some time to make sure everyone gets the chance to be involved here, because we can only be a stronger movement together in partnership with you and your communities. The Housing Justice for All Coalition, known as HJ4A, has been leading a lot of the fight for a more equitable housing system across the state, and they're gearing up for this upcoming legislative session that starts this January. So they've developed a platform with legislation that touches on key aspects of our housing crisis that I'll just give a very brief summary of. The first is passing a bill called Good Cause Eviction. We've been seeing rent hikes of 30% or more, hikes that are just not sustainable for everyday New Yorkers. Good Cause Eviction grants every tenant across the state protections against unjust evictions and unreasonable rent increases by requiring landlords to justify rent hikes greater than 3% or 150% of the consumer price index. This bill would protect 1.6 million households across the state. The second is passing HAVP, or the Housing Access Voucher Program. HAVP creates a statewide rental subsidy program for low-income New Yorkers who are homeless, facing eviction, or at risk of losing their housing because of domestic violence or hazardous living conditions. The bill also includes undocumented people, people without income, and people with felony convictions, none of whom who are currently eligible for local or federal assistance. The third is passing TOPA, known as the Tenant Opportunity to Purchase Act. We often see that when a building gets sold, it gets sold to large private equity real estate companies that sometimes kick out all the former tenants in order to make room for higher paying ones. Exactly the kind of practice that fuels gentrification in our communities. TOPA provides tenants with the option to buy their building and would provide tenants with a financing support that if the landlord does decide to sell the building, tenants could buy the building together, own it as a cooperative, turn the building into publicly owned housing, or work with a nonprofit to remain a permanently affordable rental. Fourth is reforming the Rent Guidelines Board. This year, we've seen historic high rent increases that we haven't seen in about a decade, and Housing Justice for All wants to restructure how we assess what a fair rent increase is for our rent-stabilized tenants in New York City and across the state. And finally, we need a bold new vision for housing. Housing Justice for All is proposing the creation of a social housing development authority, a statewide agency with the power to build and preserve high-quality, affordable housing across the state. We can't just build any old luxury housing. We need to build what people need most, which is deeply affordable housing. And if we can't rely on the market to do that, we have to be able to do it ourselves. So those are the 5 bills: Good Cause Eviction, the Housing Access Voucher Program, the Tenant Opportunity to Purchase Act, reforming the Rent Guidelines Board, and the creation of a social housing development authority. So our main call to action today is that if you think we need to strengthen rent protections and build that genuinely affordable housing, please sign on to the Housing Justice for All letter supporting their platform that someone will drop into the chat. And that letter will go to the governor on January 12th. That day, we're also going to have an in-person rally at noon, and we'll keep folks posted on the location as well. But ultimately, this is an opportunity to show the governor that faith-based communities have always been and continue to be a part of the fight for housing justice. If you're interested in being a speaker at that rally, please reach out to Timothy at Housing Justice for All, whose email I'll also put in the chat. But as I wrap up, I just want to acknowledge that these are big battles that we're all facing and that we're all fighting. My official title might be organizer, but truly from the bottom of my heart, I believe that each and every single one of us can be an organizer, whether we sign a letter, show up to a rally, or whether we just tell someone about something that really energizes us today. So I hope that out of today, out of this conference, you've made a commitment to yourself and to your community around housing justice, because we can't tackle this problem without you all. So thank you again for being with us today. And with that, I'll pass it back to Hanadi. Thanks again.
Thank you. I mean, I don't even know where to start. I just want to thank, first of all, everyone for participating, all the co-hosts, really that massive text that we have going on behind the scenes that you guys don't see. And I just want to be able to take a moment and actually thank all the participants that are in this space. And I want to actually ask if maybe 1, 2, 3 of you can come off of mute and share what you've learned today or some takebacks that you have, or anybody. I mean, I would love to be able to hear from you guys. If anybody would be willing. I mean, I have one person that's up and I might just ask her to do it. I can volunteer. I have no problems. Reverend Lauren, I'm actually looking at you. If you want to come off of mute and just kind of share a takeaway, that would be fantastic.
Me?
Yes. You're on my screen. I see you.
Oh my. I had a wonderful time today. I learned so much from Rev Cruz and Joanne and Nina Saxon about NYCHA and Metro IAF and Manhattan together, and how those entities are related and also not related, and what they're doing to love people, love God, and fight against injustice. So that was especially rewarding. And I had a wonderful conversation with Chloe's group about the ways in which the city needs to be encouraged, shall we say, to fund and support programs that are housing more and more people in temporary and more permanent ways. And Isaac and others were really emphasizing the issues around that and the hopes around it, which can't just be hopes, we have to act on them. So I hope I've summarized.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate it. Does anybody else want to share? If not, I mean, feel free to put it in the chat or come off of mute. We'd love to hear your voice. We've spoken at you guys for a lot today. Yes, Rosa, I think you put your hand in.
Yes, yes, my name is Rose. Hi, my name is Rose Scott, and I want to thank you for hosting this event today. I learned a lot. I've been writing and writing and writing. I'm so glad that I was able to be in. I was asked to join the meeting next Tuesday at 4 o'clock regarding more information regarding more voucher, the voucher process. So I am looking forward to working with people. I'm looking forward to getting more involved in my community here in Southeast Queens, so people can get out of the subway. I take the subways, so people can get out of the subways and get into homes. So thank you again, and thank you all.
Thank you, Rose. I appreciate it. Mark, I see your hand.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to say this is an incredible event. You really done a great job working logistics as well as bringing together some great people. And I think there's no better government agency than the Comptroller's office. I mean, Brad's been doing this forever. And now he's got an official platform, but he's been doing this forever. And he's just such an impressive person and got a great team. I want to say that the connections that there have been close to 100 people, I think. And I just hope that you can facilitate a way for us to be in touch with each other, because what this demonstrates is this tremendous amount of potential and existing power in the faith community, but often we don't all know who we are. We don't know who our allies are. I know many of them because I've been doing this for 40 years, but I don't know everyone here, and I want to know everyone here, and I want everyone here to be able to connect with each other. There's some real opportunities for change, and I just hope that you can help us find a way to stay connected with each other. And also, I just want to say one other thing. We've been working with the Mayor's Center for Faith-Based and Affordable Faith-Based and Community Partnerships with Reverend Gil Monrose. He generally has a meeting every month, and there are about 1,000 people on his list, and there are generally about 250, 300 people on that Zoom. And we're talking to him about bringing these conversations into those monthly meetings so we can continue to bring faith leaders together to see what we can do collectively, both directly with homeless people in our congregations, in our communities, and in terms of advocacy. And I just hope we can continue this momentum. There's a real willingness to do it, and I'm looking to you, Hanadi, to give us the logistical way to make it happen, as well as Nicole and the other folks in your team. But what's such a great day. Really, thank you so much for everyone.
Thank you so much. Yes, we have a list of everyone, and actually, I'm actually about to post something in the chat. If we want people to make the intention to dedicate their sermon for a week of action or a weekend of action in 23 on housing justice. And I'm going to put that in the chat right now. And what you can do, I asked Brendan to do it actually, and yes. And in the resource guide, if you go to the resource guide, there's a line in there that is asking people to sign up to dedicate a sermon in 23. So I ask that you make that intention to do it, and we will follow up with you with when the week is, what to do, what are some points to say. Please sign up for it. It's very important that you make that intention now and not wait until 23. And if you can do something even before then, please do. Nicole rattled off a lot of things that you can do, and definitely exactly, Ali, my next thing is the next step of this conference is not just the 9 to 2, right? We have something from 4 to 6 p.m. tonight, where we're asking people to meet us in front of, we've been advertising 253, but we'll be reading next door at 260 West 153rd Street, which is Harlem Congregations for Community Improvement, to do an affordable housing tour. I mean, I think the weather is maybe not in our favor at the moment. It may be raining a little bit later, so we'll play it by ear, and we'll be outside, and we'll be ready to take people inside to a space to have a conversation with Malcolm Punter and his team about what goes into actually physically creating affordable housing units. So we ask that you do show up later at 4 p.m. in front of 260 West 153rd Street. If you have questions, please throw them in the chat. Anyone else that wants to throw in a final kind of comment in the chat, that would be fantastic. And then also what I want to do is actually, we started in prayer, we're going to end in prayer. We are a group of people of faith, and I ask that at this moment, if Venerable Yulin, if you are ready to be able to offer us a prayer and close us out.
Thank you. Auspicious greeting to all interfaith leaders, council members, and guests. I'm Yolin from IBTS for Gongsan Yuan Temple. Thank you for inviting me. I'm happy and humble to share an invocation for today's meeting. Let us now pray to the name of our spiritual leaders. O great compassionate God and Buddha, under the guidance of your wisdom, may we all interfaith leaders and council members be steadfast in our work. May we be respectful and amiable in conducting affairs. May we be cooperative in collaborative operations. May we be accustomed to contributing to the benefit of society. O great compassionate God and Buddha, please grant the immigrants and homeless with fine qualities. Please grant them with favorable causes and conditions. They may encounter many setbacks and failure. Thus, we pray to you to comfort and protect them. Should they fall down, please let them understand the obstacles and rise again with courage. Should they be discouraged, please help them self-examine and exert themselves with renewed confidence. Should they face any hardships, please let them analyze calmly and break through attachments. Should they be confused, please help them see the goal and remain unshakably determined. Please let them have a broad, open mind, happy to accept any suggestions. Let them have a tender heart, capable of withstanding all criticism. O great compassionate God and Buddha, we are like a newborn calf, unafraid of difficulties. We thus pray to you, God and Buddha. In the clumsiness, stimulate our ingenuity and wisdom. In the negligence, encourage us to bear responsibility. Please bless and protect every one of us with your power. May we understand how to use this opportunity to learn how to repay favor received in the past. May we understand how to use this experience to develop the ability to be independent in the future journey. O great compassionate God and Buddha, please accept our sincere prayer. Please accept our sincere prayer. Thank you.